part of our commitment with respect to ongoing engagement and updates from a place of transparency of the things that are going well, lessons learned, and what might be on deck for the future. And so I will welcome the DE team to share the quarterly report.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Rowe. Good evening, Madam President, to the board members. My name's Kelly Dean. Very honored to be here tonight. Thank you so very much. Apologize for masking. I have some low immunities. I have nothing to give, but my low immunities these days. So I'm very honored to be here. I want to start by recognizing my son Patrick, who has presented the last couple, and he is down with the flu bug tonight, so I'm sorry he couldn't be here. So you get me and how honored that I am. So thank you. Dr. Rowe has a nice report, and we hope that you and all the staff here at GRPS have just a wonderful, successful year, which I believe you will with a great commitment. We're very honored to present tonight, this evening, to everyone a quarterly report. We've prepared this in advance, and it should have been sent to you, and we're going to go through it real quick. All questions are going to be open and available, and we're looking forward to being able to share. To start with myself is a little further introduction. I may not have done this before, but my career started as an educator. And my background is that best job I ever had in my life was 4 years as a parapro in special education. My degrees are from Michigan State in special education, and I was a school administrator in the Lansing School District 14 years before I got recruited into the school bus business. Contrary to what may be reported, we're a Lansing-based company. We are not outside of the state of Michigan. We are only here. It's a Dean family business. Literally a Dean family business. Myself and family own this exclusively, and we're honored to service Michigan school districts only. We not ventured out because there's a lot to do. So my years started as a teacher who was recruited into this business because there was definitely a need for training, a need for growth and development training. I'd encourage you to please check us out on our website, because we've done some things that the community wouldn't know. Little old Dean Transportation in Lansing, Michigan, taking on the federal government to develop standards for wheelchairs, and tie downs, and lift equipment, which is now an international standard. It came from Little Dean in Lansing because we wouldn't take no for an answer, and they wouldn't listen. So we changed the world for the disabled community across the world. And that's how we operate every day. I want to just say that because it has to start with my leadership. And we're all about kids. And you're going to hear stories. You've heard stories already tonight about incidents and things that happen. We are all about kids. There are 5,000 kids we transport for you every day. We care about every single one of them. And I'm not going to take anything other than that. We care about every single one of them. I wish we could have all of our drivers and our attendants come here to meet you and you meet them. They got big hearts. A vast majority of them are graduates of Grand Rapids Public Schools. They have kids in the district. Their grandparents have kids in the district. They take this very seriously, and they work very hard. You have the most sophisticated school district of all that we have in the whole state of Michigan, and we have over 100 that we service. That number doesn't matter. Every single one counts. We want to do the right thing wherever we're at, but there is no one who has developed such a broad array of great educational opportunities here. We're very proud and very honored to continue to service you all these many years. In fact, I call it a blessing. We're only in Lansing, and so different than you're thinking. So we're here. This is my son Christopher, my son Patrick. We've got key staff. Brian Thrasher, who's right behind me, University of Michigan Business School graduate, handles all of our finance. Bruce Grant, just a loyal soul who has worked for us for many years, over 30 years in school transportation. He's our general manager here every day, and he makes this operation work. Kevin Harkness, to my right, your left, Kevin is an Alma graduate and business and operations, and when he has some time, he's a coach. He works with kids, but he's also our regional manager here, who spends daily efforts to make sure that we're providing the best services that we can for Grand Rapids Public School. Christopher Dean, to my left, Chris's degrees in engineering, so he handles all of our innovations. He handles everything related that he's going to present tonight, from electric buses to Here Comes the Bus systems on board, apps for our parents. And so there's a lot here that we bring every day. As I mentioned, 5,000 students, and we believe this school year, even though it's not been perfect, has been much better than last year or the years before. Because I can tell you, if you were in my shoes, you would not have wanted to been in transportation coming out of the pandemic. It has been a challenge. And we lost half our staff during the pandemic because they had to survive. They had to survive, they had to keep their houses, their cars, feed their families. So a lot of them we've hired back, and we've hired more. We have such queued up, such great people right now that are coming on board. We have some very positive, exciting things to offer Grand Rapids. You are absolutely a priority for us, and we can demonstrate to that, and we appreciate that. Mr. Luke Steyer has been a great representative for the district, communicating with us and keeps us informed of all the goings on happening in the district. And thank you, Luke, for your leadership. And we want to share that with everyone here tonight. So thank you for allowing the introduction, and we'll share some more here at the end. But we've summarized our startup, we've summarized some of our technology that's coming, we summarized some of our on-time performances. They're all straightforward to you issues that have been brought before that we want to address and tell you, has there been improvement and so on, and we'll let you decide after we go through a report. So we appreciate that. I'm going to start with Kevin. He's going to give us an update on how this fall has started.
Thank you, Dr. Obie, Board of Education, for allowing us to present. So just to second what Kelly said, this has been one of the most successful startups that we've had all throughout Kent County, but especially at Grand Rapids Public Schools. As you know, you're going to get lots of changes at the beginning of the school year. This year we've had just shy of 2,600 changes. Those are simply address changes, custody situations, daycare situations. But the vast majority of those are enrollment. People who come and enroll late, or change their enrollment, or choose a theme school, or different things of that nature. So over the last 3 weeks, we've been handling those 2,600 changes. So of course there's going to be bumps in the road. Every district has those, okay? Some may last a week, the smaller districts. Other larger districts take a little bit of time. I'm happy to say today was, at least in the transportation world, a very, very good day. We started week 4, day 12, as Dr. Obie had mentioned. We have done everything, or are doing everything you guys have asked us to do as far as communication. We have increased our management support. We've hired Rolanda Robinson, who has been with us for 17 years as an assistant director. She works hand in hand with Bruce. Some of you may know her. She's been around and done a lot of things with the district. She's unable to be with us tonight, but she will be here for introductions at some point. Probably the biggest thing that we've done, and again, I'd like to compliment Luke for helping us with this, is implement the district web page, our web concern page. So basically what that is if anybody has a concern about transportation, this is the main place to go. Go onto the district web page, and you will be able to find the transportation concern form, fill it out, and that goes to multiple people. That will go to Luke in the district, it goes to the transportation concern email, and it goes to myself, Rolanda, and Bruce. We have made a commitment to answer those questions within 48 hours. Okay, and that does not mean that the resolution is going to take place within 48 hours. It simply means that we will have an answer back to the parent or the concerned parties, letting them know, hey, we've received this, we're working on it, or here's the solution, or what have you. And we'll talk a little bit about that more later. And then the last kind of startup summary point we want to make is we are improving trip protocols. We are implementing Trip Tracker with the school district. We have done a lot of work on that, and again, working with Lucas in the district, that will be implemented here very soon. We are, contrary to belief, we've not missed any trips according to every bit of information we've had since we had some issues at the end of last school year, so those have all been taken care of. And at the bottom, I'm not gonna read it, but we do have a few quotes from some of the people who, have actually complimented the startup. So, Chris, could I get the next slide, please? One of the main things that we do is we've started the Parent Advisory Council. We've got, I'm not gonna read the members' names, we don't need to take that time, but you can see the members. If you're interested or know anyone interested, there's a QR code to join. What this council does is we get together usually quarterly, and we talk about transportation and the needs of the district. What are we doing good? What are we doing bad? What can we improve on? For instance, the form that I just spoke about, that was an idea from the Parent Advisory Council. If you look right here, you'll see we've created the online feedback form. We track those results. The reason we wanted to do that is because now there's a tracking mechanism. We can't say, oh, we've had 200, no, we have exact numbers of what was done, what the resolutions were, and everything involved, and those get sent to the district. And at the end of each week, those are sent to the district, and you guys have those. We've revamped the Reimagined Transportation Dashboard. Chris will show you some situations with that here a little bit later. Metric are broken down by quadrant. Again, Chris will talk to that here shortly. The Here Comes the Bus and Z-Pass instructions have been simplified. That was a request of the Advisory Council and Lucas, and we've worked with your team internally, your communications team, to get that done, and so that is taken care of. We're tracking any runs that are what our terms are called doubled up. That means if we don't have a driver and we have to send a driver to a school and then double them up, send back to a different school, we've had 0 so far this year. Hopefully that continues. Our staffing is at a point that it hasn't been in years. We are actually very well staffed. There has not been a day this year where we haven't had at least 2 supervisors and all the phones manned in the office. So that is a vast improvement compared to everybody and their brother driving and no one manning the phone. So that is huge. We're improving our protocols. We've done that internally for our substitute buses. So using the app, obviously one of the big things is if a bus breaks down or something else happens, we have to substitute it. We've made internal changes with some of the folks that are doing that and some of the protocols, and that, again, day 12 seems to be working. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. There is, been a bump in the road here or there, but overall, very good start to it. As I said, we added a supervisor. We revised the dispatch situation. We've actually added dispatchers. So we heard, one of the big things, if we call, we don't get through. There's not enough people there. So, we did a study and we've ended up adding a position. We've attended many events, most of them at the end of last year, and some of them at the beginning of this year, to help parents with all the apps and questions that they may have about everything. Improve the year-end and start year communication. That's something that we continue to work on. We have a lot of different ideas. I know the district has some ideas that we're working on. We're not ready to share those yet, but those will be forthcoming. And then, as I said, the trip trackers, the digitizing the special requests. One thing that we noticed was everything as far as special trips, i.e. field trips, athletic trips, currently and still is paper. Lots of mistakes happen on paper, on both sides of the fence. Sometimes the district doesn't send it, sometimes we lose it, sometimes we input it wrong. It can happen, okay? With the new digitized system, which will be coming here, I'm hoping within about a month or so, it eliminates all that. It's all electronic, it's all work management system, so all of those things will be taken care of and will avoid a lot of those simple mistakes that have caused issues in the past.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I think one of the things that we've worked on with the advisory council is the development of on-time performance metrics. So just to summarize, the information you're seeing is not new information. It has been posted on the district's website. It's available if you go to the transportation page, and on a monthly basis, we're reporting to the district on-time metrics as it relates to the school stop. So that's the arrival at the school in the AM and then the pickup at the school in the PM. I think to confirm some thoughts that we've shared previously, our methods for this is based on telematics data itself. So I promise not to go on too long because I have more of an engineering mindset, so I could go on and on about each line here. But the point I'm trying to convey is that this is information that's transmitted directly from the vehicle. So if you start at the bottom of the page, very simply, the blue line is the path of the bus here on September 4th, 2024, pulling up to Alger Middle School. And at the top here, each of these lines are individual data points. But for us, when we count a vehicle arriving at a school, that's based on the telematics data, and that requires two items. It's vehicle location, and then there's an input for the door open. So that vehicle pulls up to the school, the door opens, so we're reading that door opening, and a stops logged. So there is a whole bunch of data behind the scenes that occurs here, transmitted by the vehicle through our telematics system. I think I have some important updates on electric school buses, which I'll share in a moment after Kevin shares this slide.
So, yeah, so again, we're working with the district, we're looking at future planning, you know, continued education, and here comes a bus and Z-Pass. That is always important to increase usership. One thing that we notice is that, you know, users are up and down. It starts really good at the beginning of the year, and then it goes down and it fluctuates around Christmas time, it gets better again. We report metrics to the district by the 15th of every month, just like we have been. That will continue. Continue supporting the Reimagine Plan. We are obviously a vital part of that when schools are opening and closing and shifting and kids need to be moved and buses need to be added or subtracted. So we appreciate that. We continue to work with that. As I said, the improved field trip process we've talked about. The continued on time or timely feedback. That, again, that is where we talked about the 48 hours, getting that back. Monthly meetings with the athletic directors is something that is new this year. Actually, that'll take place tomorrow. Myself and the middle school athletic director, Brody Larson, have been meeting, and Lucas joins us when he's able. And we are just talking about making sure, looking forward, we're, instead of trying to be reactive, we're trying to be proactive. Looking forward to basically the spring. Middle school athletics isn't really too cumbersome in the fall and winter, but when spring comes, it gets to be a chore. So we're looking forward to that, coming up with plans, coming up with bus routes and different shuttles that are set. So again, we can be proactive versus reactive. So again, those are happening monthly. Start of school protocols is something that we are working heavily with Lucas on. Again, not ready to share some of those, but we will. Hopefully enable to eliminate, it'll never eliminate, but to change or lower that 2,600 number. That is a huge number. Again, our staff normally doesn't change that many people all summer long, and then we do it in a 2-week window and get all the parents notified of all these changes. So we're trying to lower that number. Obviously, we're having continued discussions with the school district about cameras on the bus. That is something that's been going on. And then improvement in McKinney-Vento transportation protocol. I know I've been working with Lucas and some of the other district employees that are involved in that, and I believe we have got some ideas, and I think, again, I don't want to quote Lucas, but I think that was presented maybe today to the E-Cabinet, and we'll just see where that goes, and then we'll be able to report on that at a future date.
Thank you. Can I just add to his report, middle school sports is very important to us. We love it. We love sports in general, and we want to be able to give all kids access to their activities, particularly working with Stephanie and the foundation on the middle school sports. Chris, would you tell everyone a bit about what's happening with electric school buses?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to take a couple minutes. At the last board update, I discussed electric school buses, and we've had an exciting development since then. So just a quick recap, electric school buses are very expensive. It's at the start of its, it's at the beginning of the deployment in the industry. So an electric school bus, just to give you a feel for the numbers, is about $400,000 just for the vehicle itself. Then you add charger, installation, so on and so forth. The only way to deploy an electric school bus is through grant funding. So we've worked really hard in partnership with the district on 2 main grant programs. The first one is the EPA's Clean School Bus Program, which was announced on May 30th, 2024 for $5.175 million towards up to 15 school buses. On top of that, we worked in conjunction with the school district on Michigan's Clean School Bus Program. So this is new since we last spoke. On July 31st, there was an award of over $1.4 million towards up to 10 electric school buses. So when you combine those 2 programs, there's a grant funding pot of about $6.6 million. Right now, the worst case scenario we see for estimated total project cost is about $7.6 million. We truly feel, based on projects of similar size and scope, that is kind of a worst case top tier number, but we're working really hard with our partners that help deploy these projects to lower those costs. An example of that is this project's been approved as part of the Consumers Power My Fleet program. What that means is that hopefully we can get consumers to help with the infrastructure that's required when they bring in the electricity. So any costs that we are assuming will occur, now that it's part of the Power My Kids program, hopefully they will help assume those costs to make that funding gap decrease. So what sorts of things are we working on? And we just met on site with all involved parties last week. Grand Rapids Public Schools facilities, the electrician, Consumers Energy, ourselves, trying to develop what's the best long-term plan. So things that we're considering right now, first of all, where is the available electricity and is there enough? What's it going to take to get it where it needs to go at the transportation facility? How much is needed? There's also some considerations in terms of total fleet size and runs fare ratios. To tack onto that, the two funding grant programs here, one was based on up to 15 buses and the other was up to 10. We're putting together some analysis which will be presented to the district just in terms of what those models look like to limit the cost over and above grant funding. And on top of that, there's some very real operational concerns. For instance, if you assume the Grand Rapids Public Schools regular ed fleet is somewhere in the ballpark of 60 to 65 buses. The number one issue or concern with these vehicles is just keeping them available, charged, and available to use on a daily basis. There may be a scenario where 15 electric school buses is a little bit too risky of a proposition from a financial perspective, but also operationally, because if you think about it, in a new industry evolving, there may be recalls, there may be things on parts that are brand new to the world. What we're trying to put together and convey formally is that if there were a recall and all 15 buses weren't available for use, that presents an issue on the operational aspect of the fleet. So these are all things that we're working behind the scenes. The goal continues to be to deploy an electric school bus on the ground in Grand Rapids in calendar year 2025. I expect that in the next 6 weeks, we should be able to start zeroing in some true costs. Consumers has done site evaluations. As I mentioned, we met with them last week. We've all kind of determined a path forward on the best long-term plan. So we're at the point where we're really able to start zeroing in. So again, I expect in the next 6 weeks, we'll be able to put some more formal proposals together with some exact numbers as it relates to the key components. And I would like to confirm, because this question has arisen, we've worked very hard to obtain these funds because without grant funding, these projects aren't feasible. They're just too expensive without that external funding. We've sought this funding for the benefit of GRPS. It is for GRPS. There's no financial gain to Dean. This money is literally making it possible to get the equipment on the ground, the infrastructure in place, available to hit the road. So I'd like to confirm that over and over. We've done this work hard on behalf of Grand Rapids to make sure that this opportunity exists here in the district. And then I'd like to just follow up with our engagement opportunities here for the Transportation Department as we look forward to this school year. So obviously we've spoken about the Transportation Advisory Council. We're looking forward to that continuing the school year. Hopefully a meeting to be scheduled here in the next month or two. As Kevin alluded to, the importance of the online feedback form and the transparency that brings to us and the district and administration all involved in that process. We're going to continue to support transportation technology, designated support for Here Comes the Bus and ZPass and the apps, and then transportation town halls. This is something that we did last school year, we feel is pretty successful, so we're looking at opportunities to schedule those items again in November and March this coming school year. So with that, I'll turn it back to Kevin for one more comment.
Yeah, I'd just like to make one more comment before Kelly closes. The online feedback form, what we're asking of the district, the parents, anyone who has community members, anyone who sees anything or has an issue, please use that. Okay, there are a lot of forums out there. There's social media, there's news media, there's calling us, there's calling you, there's everything that could possibly be out there. By using the online feedback form, it's trackable, and it doesn't just go to us, so it also goes to the district, so it's not like, oh, well, Dean got that and they just, hid it away or something. It is transparent and it's reliable, and that is what we are using as our formal method of communication. So I ask of all the parents, again, community members, if you do have an issue, please go ahead and use that method to communicate. And, anything else you wanna do is great, but that would be our formal method that we'd like to use. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I think it'd be appropriate, I would like to say on Dean's behalf, to thank the advisory committee, who spent a lot of time working along with us. They've had some tremendous suggestions. It's great to hear from parents, what they would like to see, and so the QR code is right there, and folks should join in. And as I said, we're gonna have a couple of town halls this year, spread them out, but you may see an open house there again. We had 2 open houses last year and nobody came. Literally, nobody came. I was disappointed. I want everybody to meet our great office staff who are tireless in their efforts and wonderful, beautiful people. So we look forward to doing that again this coming year. So that's our update. Again, as I started out, we're looking forward to a very positive year serving you. As a family business, just here in West Michigan, we service Muskegon Public, we service Battle Creek Public, we service Lansing Public. Very similar urban districts, very, very similar. A lot of them make up. You're just much larger. Grand Rapids is much larger. As I said earlier, you're much more sophisticated in needs than others are. And we've always tackled this and take this on. We've had construction here since day one. I mean, kids moving building to building. There's so many great things. This Reimagine plan is just fantastic. And so we're looking forward so we had let's just say, we got a good, okay start. We're only going to get better. Most of that is that we've had a good array of new applicants coming in to work for us. I want you to know it takes us at a minimum 42 days to train them before they're legally able to go on the road. Where, we compete against, like the Home Depot, you can interview today and get a job tomorrow and get a check. We can't do that, 42 days. We're paying people to get trained ourselves. We're paying people to train them. So, because they can't leave another job to come to this job. But we believe our folks, this is an avocation for them. This is something special. And we advocate, we advocate with them. This is about changing lives of kids, making a difference in the lives of kids. You're part of education, and I say daily, we're the transportation side of education. And the drivers and attendants are just outstanding. They're a wonderful group, committed to our community, and we have some new folks coming in, and I think the number is about 16 right now that are coming in. So Kevin said we're been close to fully staffed every single day. So we're going to stop. Thank you for the opportunity to present, and I believe that we would be able to answer any questions that you have.
Board colleagues, any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. It's very informative, and appreciate the data points as well. Very data-driven individual. But with that said, some of the testimonies that we've heard regarding some of these mishaps, and you noticed, or you made a statement that you guys are meeting now quarterly. Is there a way that can perhaps maybe increase? Is the quarterly too big of a gap that reporting issue to issue maybe is not getting through? There seems to be a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah. So we are committed to come to present to you on a quarterly basis.
I'm talking about
the transportation advisory.
Yeah, we're the advisory committee. We could meet. Go ahead, Kevin. Interrupted you.
Oh, no worries. From our side, we are willing and able to meet as often as need be. Part of the issue is when the group is getting everyone's schedule together to meet. But again, if it needs to be monthly, bi-monthly, weekly, I mean, we're happy to do that with the parents. That's just something that, I can talk with Lucas about, and, he kind of heads it up from the parent side and the district side and see what they feel that would be good, but I'm always willing to meet with folks.
That's good to know. I have a question regarding the device that, I'm not sure if it's active yet, but the device that that you presented on that can track students on and off the bus.
As he passed.
Yeah. Does that also have the capability of maybe alerting or beeping if a student gets off the bus at the wrong stop?
It does not currently, but your thought process is a good one, and we're working with the vendors to understand how we could put that in place. Most likely, the solution for that looks like a vehicle-mounted tablet that obviously we'd be syncing with the routing system to know exactly when and where students are to get off. So currently, no, the card just simply swipes. It can provide a notice to the parent if they elect to receive that. But you're absolutely right, that is a product down the line in the vision path for sure.
Thank you. Previously, and if you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, you guys presented on the electric buses, and there was conversation around the charging stations and potentially that the district would have to either be part of paying for that. Is that correct? Do I have that mistake?
I think the message probably was that this grant funding is a really good start. It gets all of us a long way there, but there may be some costs that are not covered by those grant funds. I think that's where we're working really hard on the partnerships with like consumers through Part of My Fleet. Opportunities for some of these costs that are going to be there to be covered. And I expect, in the next 6 weeks, we should be able to start zeroing in exactly what the project costs look like versus what available grant funding is. So I think that probably was the message of, hey, this is a really good start. There's great grant opportunities here, but it may not make it entirely free per se, at which point we know what we're working with, then we'll be able to figure out how we cover those costs over and above what's paid for by grants.
So yes. So then my follow-up for that is with just expressed or just showed us that you guys just received another $1.something million in grants. Could none of those funds be used to build the stations along the way as you continue to collect or buy electric buses?
No, it can all be used for the project, I think, and I apologize if I'm not explaining it perfectly. All those funds are being put towards the project. The project itself still may cost more than that. Those don't fund the project at 100%. We're trying to get it to fund 99.9%, as close as we can, but by current estimates, it will not fund the entire project.
Okay. My last question for you is regarding you made a statement that, you have concerns in regards to a larger fleet of electric buses that might have some form of a recall or an issue that will cause, the bus counts for transportation to go down. What is your plan with the current gas buses that you have, and could you not just substitute one of those if electric does go down, so that way there is not a disruption to our scholars in our system?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we do right now. As part of these grant programs and accepting funding, the diesel school buses have to be retired within 90 days of taking the new electric. So if there's 10 new electrics into the fleet, 10 existing diesel units have to come out. So for 90 days, there will be a window which we can do exactly what you're saying, plug in an existing diesel if something happens to electric. After 90 days, those have to essentially go and be crushed formally with documentation, so they will not exist any longer.
And that's a result of the federal grant, or are you saying it's state?
Both programs require existing buses to be displaced by new electric buses.
Was it one-to-one exchange?
Yes,
Because of the federal grant?
both the federal and the state require that. Yep, and that's very common with almost every grant program you see. They're trying to get the oldest diesel buses off the road, which we are working on to do that. The fleet is not that old, so the target buses they're trying to get off, we don't have 10 or 15 of those, so we may have to dip into a few newer buses per se. But that is the concept of, for every new electric bus in, there is one diesel school bus that has to go and be scrapped. You have to cut the frame rails, blow a hole through the engine, and show them all the pictures. So they'll never be able to use again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there an end date to when those funds need to be?
I think the performance period is 2 years. I think I'd have to look, but there are purchase orders required by the end of October, maybe the early part of November. So we've been working hard through the whole summer, honestly. These projects, they take a long time, and the mistakes can be very expensive. So you want to make sure that we go at a slow and steady pace and have all the parties involved, which really we've made some good progress with last week's important meeting with consumers, us, the district, everybody there. But our goal would be that this fall, that we're able to present formal numbers, figure out the funding gap if there is one. We're trying to minimize that as much as possible. And then purchase orders will have to be in place end of October, early November.
Any other questions?
One of my questions is about the service that we hear about in our emails, and a lot of times it's like a customer service complaint where like a bus driver missed a stop or didn't listen to the kids or things like that. And so I don't necessarily have a question, but ask is that possibly we get presented on what types of professional development our bus drivers get and how they're held accountable for the service that our families deserve. A lot of times it's like right at the service where our parents are not being satisfied. And so I'd like to hear more about what types of professional development your staff.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing that up because rarely we have the opportunity to talk about that. Our drivers and attendants are as highly trained as anyone in the country. We've been awarded the top school bus company in America because of our training that we've developed. You know, we're talking about 150 hours of being mandated training. And some of these relate to Crisis Prevention Institute. We always reach out to our school staff to help us when we're dealing with the behavior challenges on school buses. So we're working in unison with parents. We have basic healthcare management that we develop through a community college level that everyone goes through, which would start with the basics, first aid, CPR. Would you imagine our industry, it's not a requirement to have first aid and CPR. It is at Dean. Everybody has emergency management training we provide. And then we get into some very high level. Our special education drivers and parapros are gonna receive 200 hours of Dean mandatory training. And we've never said that before. We're very proud of that. You know why? Because it's to do the right thing. And we have some very complicated, challenging situations within the 5,000 riders that we have, and so we need that level of training.
I think if I can just follow up, I think what Trustee Wade is asking for, and we can certainly give this, is a summary of like the type of courses that are offered. Is that what you're asking?
I'm interested.
Okay, so we can certainly do it.
Maybe at a
Future.
future
Yes.
presentation.
And we'd be glad to. We have a whole repertoire of training with all those hours. So, but that's important to us. We hire good people and then we train them.
Yeah, I do remember last report out you were saying how out of, I can't remember, but a very small amount of people actually, go through that interview process and are actually qualified and get the job. So I know you guys are very particular. But,
I'm so sorry. We still, even though we're getting applicants, for every one person we hire, it takes 10 applications to see that they qualify. And that's really background checks and everything related to driving records and background checks. So we don't hire anyone that doesn't meet our standards. So one out of 10. So it's a very high number of applicants that we need to get to be very picky and selective.
my last question is the sophistication that you're talking about in GRPS. Can you elaborate on what the differences is between our district and other districts that are so sophisticated? I think I have an idea.
Yeah, well, there's no one in our entire repertoire. School districts have museum schools, have zoo schools, have theme schools, such very fantastic opportunities. The number of students that go half days and need to meet a shuttle to get, so, I mean, we're moving literally constantly. In most cases, there's no room for construction. There's no room to have an accident. There's no room for a snow day, a snowstorm, snowbanks, park cars, all the things that we have to wrestle with every day. But I'm just saying, that's really amazing. Kevin handles it, somebody, and Bruce, you can comment on this as
So-
well.
So just to give you a high level from our point of view, most school districts, you have, again, whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4 high schools or middle schools, you go out, you pick up the kids, you take them to the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, whatever, the particular need is. In Grand Rapids, as you know, with the theme schools, students who live up here may go to school down here, or vice versa. So now you're integrating hub sites, you're integrating multiple tiers, and to do that, there is a lot of moving parts. Some kids may have multiple shuttles they have to get on. Some kids may have, get picked up at a first tier time and get off the bus at a third tier time to get you from here to here. To my knowledge, you GRPS are the only district that has anything like that, at least that we deal with. Everything else is, like I said, pick them up, go to the elementary school, go to the middle school, go to the high school, you're done, that sort of thing. So it makes it very complex and very complicated. Again, it's not undoable, we do it every single day, but when one thing goes wrong, the trickle down effect is what happens. If we have a tier 1, if we're out driving and we go to a tier 1 student's house and he takes an extra 10 minutes to get on because of what have you, he forgot his coat and backpack inside, he needs to go back in and get it, okay? Now we're late all the way through tier 3 because it's gonna trickle down, the hub sites. Then our hub buses all have to wait to get there. So that bus who has kids that go to spread out around the district, okay, have kids on it. So now all of those buses are late by 3 or 4 minutes. So one student, one red light, one accident, one traffic jam affects the entire system. And that's part of the thing, again, so as we say at the beginning of the school year, we have 2,600 changes. That changes, so again, I may come in and change my student's address, but the 30 other kids on the bus, they just all got changed. Tomorrow, someone else on that bus changes their address, they just got changed again. And that happens over and over and over. So again, the first few weeks of school are challenging, and you're going to have that no matter where you're at. But here, especially because of the complexity of your system, makes it, so again, I hope I answered your question to the best of my ability, but that's kind of at the high level. Anytime you would like to see it in action, or come on down. Come on down, we'd love to show you. Well, mine either. Where he goes, it's his brain that makes it work.
Good job. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for the presentation tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.